Hey all, this is Daniel House, and this is my video of my top 12 films of 2025. Now, I used to do these top 10 lists by way of a blog a long time ago, but I've kind of stopped doing blogging and I've started doing videos a lot more, and I figure this will probably reach more people. Now, some people talk about that one year is a good year for films and one year is not a good year for films. But my opinion is that every year is actually a good year for film. It's more the ratio of good to bad. But if you watch enough films every single year, you are going to find a wealth of amazing films that will effectively blow your mind. And this year is no different. Now, I watch a lot of films. As of the recording of this, which is December 28th, almost the end of the year, I have literally watched 350 movies this year. 80 of those have been films that were made in 2025. And this video is specifically only films from this year. I was going to originally make it a top 10 list, and I realized there was too many films that I've seen that I thought deserved attention. So I made it into a top 12 list. Now, there's a handful of films I have not seen yet, and bottom line, if I had seen them prior to the recording of this video, my list might be different. On that list are Hamnet, directed by Chloe Zhao, the sort of Shakespeare biopic, if you will, starring Jessie Buckley, who I invariably always love. And I've heard nothing but great things about this film, and this is one that has a lot of chatter about possibly winning the Oscar for the best film. Another one is Marty Supreme, directed by Josh Safdie. This one also has a ton of buzz, specifically for Timothée Chalamet, and a lot of people are saying there's a good chance that this is going to be the film that is going to win him his Oscar. I look forward to seeing it. The trailer looks great, so we'll see in time. Another one is The Secret Agent by Kleber Philo. It's more of a politically charged thriller. There's a lot of people saying that this is going to be the film that may win Best Foreign Film. A couple others that I haven't seen that, probably wouldn't change this list, but might. One is The Chronology of Water, which is the directorial debut of Kristen Stewart. She directed. She also co-wrote the screenplay as well. And then the other one that comes to mind is Father, Mother, Sister, Brother by Jim Jarmusch, who I always have had a fondness for. This particular film stars Tom Waits, Adam Driver, Charlotte Rampling, Kate Winslet, Mayim Bialik. So this sounds right up my alley and pretty exciting, and I can't wait to see that. So that said, maybe my list will change, but the list I'm going to be giving you is the list based on what I've seen already. Now, one of the things that lists like this should always include, I think, is honorable mentions. So I have 6 or 7 honorable mention films that I thought were great, but maybe not quite good enough to make my list. The first one is The Ballad of Wallace Island. It's a sweet, melancholic story. It's about a lottery winner who lives on this remote island, and he yearns to bring together this musical couple who were a big deal decades ago, and they used to also be married, but they are no longer. It's a really beautiful film. It's very touching. It's very emotional. Definitely highly recommended if you haven't seen it. Another one is The Baltimoreans, directed by Jay Duplass. It's a character-driven comedy drama involving these two characters that are kind of lonely in their own very different ways. They seem like very disparate characters, but somehow they find themselves and find a lot more meaning and purpose in the relationship that they develop with each other. Another one is Black Bag, which is one of the 2 films that Steven Soderbergh came out with this year. Soderbergh has always been one of my favorite directors. He is consistent regardless of what kind of film he makes. His film this year, Black Bag, it's sleek. It's kind of morally slippery. It's sort of a espionage thriller, I guess you'd say. A lot of fun, very well made, but in my mind wasn't quite good enough to shine above the top 12 that I'm going to have on this list. Another one, pretty obscure film. It's called Bunny. It's kind of a fun, scrappy New York City, very low budget kind of indie film. It's a bunch of characters in an apartment building. There's a murder that happens. I won't say anything more. Maybe we won't call it a murder. Maybe we call it a death. I don't know. Anyway, it's a really fun film. It was another surprise. You find yourself empathizing with everybody in the film. And to me, caring about the characters in a film is such an important quality, invariably. Another one, which will probably be a little controversial, is Eddington, the 4th film by Ari Aster. I'm one of these people who thinks that Ari Aster is one of the best contemporary filmmakers we have today. Yes, his films are kind of convoluted. Yes, they kind of tend to be long, especially his last couple of films. And yes, they're kind of messy, I suppose, but he deals with kind of bleak paranoia in a way that few people do. And even though this is my least favorite of Ari Aster's 4 films, I still thought it was great, and I would still recommend it happily to anybody who wanted to sit down and make the long slog and watch the movie from beginning to end. Another kind of obscure film that I watched on, it's available on Mubi. It's called Lurker, and it's kind of about obsession and social media and surveillance culture. There's a lot of restraint and paranoia. It's kind of a psychological film. It's a very interesting film, and if you have the chance to see it, maybe you subscribe to Mubi and see it there. It's worth it. And then the last one that I have on this list is The Mastermind. This is the latest, the 9th film, I believe, by American director Kelly Reichardt. I think she's one of our best directors. Her films tend to be very kind of slow, very patient. They're not high action. They're really, a lot of what happens in the films happen in the quiet spaces and corners of the room. I really liked this one a lot. And I think it's one of Josh O'Connor's best performances to date. And he's been doing a lot of films lately. I feel like I've seen him in a lot of different things in the last couple of years. Oh, and actually there's one more. It's a documentary. It's called Secret Mall Apartment. And I was fascinated from the very beginning when I very, very first saw the trailer. It's about a bunch of art students in Providence, Rhode Island, who discover this area in a mall that's being built that's actually not being used for anything. And over the course of many months, they slowly sneak things into the space and create this apartment. And it effectively existed there for several years. It's really a fun idea. It's a fun documentary. It's very playful, and it's kind of unlike anything you've ever seen. So anyway, there you go. That's my disclaimer. Those are my honorable mentions. And now for the films that I have seen in descending order, meaning start with number 12 and work my way up to number 1. Here it is, my favorite 12 films of 2025. The Balconettes is probably a film that many have never heard of, but is very much worth watching if you can find it. It's a dark murder comedy from France, co-written and directed by Naomi Merlant, who also stars in the film. The other writer is Céline Sciamma, who directed the 2019 breakout Portrait of a Lady on Fire, a film that starred Naomi Merlant in her breakout role. The Balconettes is a small film, one that punches well above its weight. In terms of tone, I found it reminiscent of some of the occasional comedic moments of some of Hitchcock's more playful scenes, while at the same time basing its premise on a genuinely difficult, if not horrific, event as the catalyst for murder. The Balconettes provides a strong set of diverse characters, each one an archetype of sorts. It should perhaps be higher up on the list, but that's invariably the problem with trying to assemble year-end lists like these. Seek this one out if you can, and you'll thank me later. No Other Choice is the latest film from Park Chan-wook, one of the preeminent directors from South Korea. Probably best known in the US for Old Boy and Decision to Leave from 2022, Park Chan-wook's films are known for their blend of crime, thriller, and a persistent dark humor. No Other Choice is the story of an out-of-work paper industry employee whose prospects seem increasingly dire as time moves on. He decides that his best job prospects would be improved if he were to methodically kill off his potential competitors in the job market. A fun premise, no doubt. No Other Choice is a lean and insightful film, very much in line with Park Chan-wook's previous films, and is a great example of the precision of temporary Korean filmmaking. The mechanics of the storytelling are impeccably tuned, but its real power lies in how it frames personal desperation with the pressures of societal expectations that seem out of a person's control. It's not a flashy film, but is beautifully shot and is concise in its clarity and perspective on what a person might be willing to do in an effort to exert control over the external forces in their life. Zach Cregger's Weapons is an audacious escalation from the controlled mechanics of Barbarian, a film that I absolutely loved, towards something more structurally ambitious and psychologically corrosive. Fractured, taut, and relentlessly tense, Weapons uses absence and uncertainty, turning a missing children mystery into a slow-burn examination of collective fear, guilt, and moral panic. Cregger has upped his game and demonstrates a sharpened command of tone and emotion, allowing dread to be accumulated through implication and paranoia. A combination that paints human instinct as something that often brings out the worst of us in an uncomfortable situation. Weapons is studio-scale horror that relies heavily on ambiguity and refuses any sort of neat moral resolution. Weapons confirms Cregger as one of our most inventive and daring genre filmmakers, pushing horror towards unsettling, psychologically challenging territory. This is a movie that sticks with you long after the credits roll. With Sentimental Value, Joachim Trier delivers his most quietly devastating film to date, a work of extraordinary emotional precision that explores generational trauma and the coping mechanisms we employ in order to survive. Where The Worst Person in the World, Trier's previous film, explored the restlessness of becoming, Sentimental Value turns sharply inward, examining what remains after anger hardens into identity. It's a film about family and the pain that metastasizes over time, all told with a restraint so confident it feels unsettling. Trier's direction is meticulous, without being mannered, allowing scenes to unfold with an unforced naturalism that trusts actors in silence equally. The film's central relationships, marked by miscommunication, buried anger, and generational trauma, are rendered with a painful focus that avoids melodrama. Trier understands that sentimentality is not the enemy of seriousness. Rather, it becomes dangerous only when unexamined. Here, emotion is expressed through small gestures and half-spoken truths that linger long after the years have gone by. On its face, Sentimental Value is deceptively simple, but its construction reveals a patient intelligence. Trier's use of framing, space, and isolation reinforces the film's central intent, how the past persists not just as memory, but as behavior. It's a film that recognizes how dysfunction and emotional neglect leave scars that can persist continually from one generation to the next, and how we build the walls to protect our personal sense of well-being, with the recognition that those walls are often built with materials that are incapable of withstanding the pressures that come from within. Sentimental Value is perhaps the most emotionally honest film on this list. It's smart, it's patient, and through much of it is an examination of loneliness, offering no easy catharsis, only a non-judgmental observation. By the time the film closes, it feels less like a story you've been watching and more like a truth you've been allowed to be a part of. As the year comes to a close, Sentimental Value stands as one of 2025's most humane and enduring achievements. I'm always a sucker for strong music documentaries, and 2025 was a strong year, rich with documentaries that transcended their subjects. Both this and my next pick are both outstanding examples of work that I'm so happy exist. As with so many of my friends, Jeff Buckley's Grace from 1994 remains one of the most intensely powerful records ever made, and with so many of us, his untimely passing all remains as a sad injustice in the world of music. Amy Berg's remarkable portrait of Jeff Buckley stands out as both a tribute and an excavation of the complex life of an artist whose own struggles were real. It's Never Over is a beautiful documentary that thankfully avoids the obvious icon worship that would be so easy to make, and instead delivers something considerably more fragile and revealing. Rather than mythologizing Buckley, Berg explores the cost of artistic obsession and the weight of an unfinished legacy from an artist whose clear talent is unmistakable. Rich with archival material and emotional insight, It's Never Over, Jeff Buckley, stands as one of the strongest music documentaries in recent years. I genuinely appreciated its intimacy and its ability to avoid indulgence. The film balances reverence with critical insight. It offers fresh perspectives on art, tragedy, and legacy, and is a documentary film with a deep, deep emotional depth. It's one that made me cry. Questlove's Summer of Soul from 2021 was an absolute revelation, and this, effectively his follow-up, confirms him as one of our most important and literate documentary filmmakers. Sly Lives is not a conventional music biography per se, but instead a cultural essay that uses Sly Stone as both subject and symbol. It's a prism through which to examine race, innovation, exploitation, and the psychic toll of being endlessly ahead of your time. Similar to It's Never Over, Jeff Buckley, one of this film's greatest strengths is its refusal to romanticize collapse, or lazily reduce genius to mythology. Instead, it frames Sly brilliance as inseparable from the social and industrial pressures that eventually consumed him. As with Summer of Soul, Questlove's command of archival material is precise and essential. As a musician himself, his narrative is also musical, with Questlove using rhythm and contrast rather than chronology to tell the story. The film's cultural impact lies in how clearly it articulates a pattern, how Black artists are celebrated, mined, and ultimately discarded. Sly Lives, aka The Burden of Black Genius, is entertaining, mournful, angry, generous, and bracingly honest. Historically, it's an important film that explores the brilliance of one of our generation's most important musical artists. For anybody who considers themselves a music historian or a fan, this is required viewing. Another horror entry into the year's best films. Danny and Michael Philippou reconfirm their standing in the world of forward-thinking horror. Their 2022 directorial debut, Talk to Me, on A24, became the studio's highest-grossing horror film. A genuinely remarkable feat from a pair of twin brothers who, at the time, were not even yet 30. Bring Her Back is their follow-up to that, and goddamn if it isn't one of the most intense, unexpected horror treats from the year. It's sophisticatedly complex, it's deeply unsettling, and emotionally grounded, a film where grief fuels the underlying terror in the story. Sally Hawkins brings a gravity into her role, one that could have easily become standard and obvious, but instead we get one of the most compelling roles of her entire career. If you're squeamish, then Bring Her Back is probably not a film for you, but if you like intelligent horror that combines elements of supernatural, paranoia, loss, and humanity into a melange that is genuinely creepy and mind-bending, this one will stick with you for weeks. Train Dreams appeared in my consciousness out of nowhere. I watched it after a couple of reviews and was, by the end of the film, absolutely humbled and dropped into a place of genuine introspection. Not many films have the power to resonate in such a fashion. This is one of those films. An achingly beautiful meditation on life, loss, and solitude. Train Dreams translates Dennis Johnson's novella onto the big screen with a poignant and remarkable sensitivity. Joel Edgerton gives perhaps the most nuanced performance of his career as a laborer whose ordinary life becomes upended by an extraordinary, almost unfathomable loss. His performance anchors the film with a quiet dignity, while the direction emphasizes texture and rhythm over plot mechanics. The film's power lies in accumulation rather than in climax. It's a reminder that small lives can contain vast emotional worlds. Train Dreams is a film that feels like a painting. I thought it reminiscent of Terrence Malick's work, with the feel of the film transcending basic narrative. It's kind of a visual poem that spends its time ruminating everyday existence. This is a reminder of cinema's power to elevate the seemingly simple and be contemplative. Not everything needs to bludgeon you with a heavy hand. Sometimes we just need to pay attention. Yorgos Lanthimos is not a director that I've championed every step of the way. The films of his that I like, I honestly love, but the ones that I find off-putting, I respond to in similarly negative fashion. I absolutely hated The Lobster and The Killing of the Sacred Deer, but consider The Favorite and Poor Things to be absolute celebrations of what is possible in cinema as a creative medium. With Bugonia, Lanthimos has managed to create another entry into his pantheon of remarkable works. He continues his streak of unsettling, darkly comic provocations with a gleefully abrasive story, weirdly a remake of the South Korean film Save the Green Planet from 2003. Bugonia is an inexplicable collision of science fiction, satire, and dark comedy, anchored by essential performances with Lanthimos regulars Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons. Rather than give you even the tiniest hint of a plot, just know that the film weaponizes paranoia and absurdity, turning conspiracy thinking into both punchline and existential terror. It's messy by design, deliberately alienating at times, but unmistakably the work of a filmmaker who enjoys leaning into discomfort. One of the year's most divisive, and therefore essential, films. Watch it. This one honestly blew me away, and was totally unexpected as I watched it on a whim. Oliver Lax's most fully realized film to date, Sirāt feels less like a conventional narrative than a spiritual reckoning rendered in image and sound. Set against the shifting landscapes of the southern Moroccan desert, the film follows a father's search for his missing daughter. Sirāt is a story that unfolds with an elemental patience, allowing landscape, silence, and chance encounters to carry the emotional weight of what unfolds in what is, at its core, a road movie steeped in the brutality of an existential loss. A haunting journey, Sirāt sees Lax moving further into a train where the metaphysical and the personal blend in quiet, breathtaking ways. Rarely has a film this restrained felt so overwhelming. Sirāt earns my top spot for its reflective seriousness, visual grace, and its profound trust in cinema as an experiential art form. Its Cannes Jury Prize win underscores Sirāt's elegant grasp of tone and empathy. This is cinema that feels both intimate and vast. I had a hard time deciding between my number 2 and number 1 spots in this list because I adored both movies so immensely, and because both movies are so distinct from each other, stylistically, visually, and thematically. Ryan Coogler's boldest film yet, Sinners, fuses horror, history, music, and myth into something genuinely new. Rather than treating genre as metaphor, Coogler lets spectacle and emotion do most of the heavy lifting, creating a film that is viscerally edge of your seat, acerbic in its social commentary, and unapologetic, all in equal measure. It's rare for a film this ambitious to resonate so broadly, but Sinners manages to be both populist and deeply personal. Somehow, Sinners manages to reinvent the idea of a genre film. Is it horror or is it historical drama? By fusing the history of racism as one of the core tenets of the American experience, Southern Gothic rhythms, and the supernatural traditions of a classic vampire movie, Sinners defies easy classification. Anchored by an Oscar-worthy performance by Michael B. Jordan, Coogler's created a rich, immersive landscape, part mythology, part moral allegory, and part musical celebration into a movie that is exciting on every level. Its box office success and awards traction, which includes Critics' Award choice and Golden Globe nominations, and invariably it's going to get Oscar nominations as well, all reflect its bold ambition and its emotional pull. I'm not one of those people who swear by every film that PTA makes, but I will say that his best films are absolute classics of American cinema. With One Battle After Another, Paul Thomas Anderson delivers one of the year's most riveting thrillers, a kaleidoscopic chase through a fractious America that marries political satire, kinetic action, and absurdist comedy that leaves you holding your breath as you wait for the next shoe to drop. Driven by another performance from Leonardo DiCaprio that again reaffirms him as one of our best actors of his generation, this film captures the paranoia and energy of its moment while pushing Anderson's craft into exhilarating new territory. Paul Thomas Anderson detonates form and genre in a restless, propulsive work that feels simultaneously chaotic and rigorously controlled. Political paranoia, slapstick, and melancholy coexist in a film that captures the psychic noise of contemporary America without reducing it to a message movie. This story is wildly inventive, with multiple layers of nuance and detail, much of which I expect will not even be fully revealed without multiple viewings. Anderson's direction is muscular and playful and feels loose, while it's obvious that he's in full control of a narrative that is one of the most adventurous of his entire career. The performances crackle with nervous energy. One battle after another is a maximalist triumph that may very well win for Best Picture of the Year. If it does, I would not be surprised. What unites this year's films isn't ultimately genre or scale, but conviction to the medium. From expansive spiritual journeys to intimate documentaries and audacious horror, 2025 again reminded us that filmmakers who are willing to take risks, formally, emotionally, and politically, they are the artisans whose work ultimately deserve to be given the budgets to spread their wings, and that the endless parade of IP projects are really kind of a sad disappointment when held up against the people who are truly creative and inventive in their vision and in their work. 2025 was a great year for movies. Every year is a great year for movies. I can't wait to see what comes out in 2026.